All right, good evening. Let's go ahead and get started with today's class. We have a lot of stuff to cover today. All right, let's see. First of all, quick notes about your homework. A lot of people are asking about, how close my portfolio should be for the Bootstrap one. Once you are using Bootstrap, please know that you can create your whole portfolio just using Bootstrap, other than the colors thing. Okay. To be honest, I don't really care about the colors. The point over there is, if you create your portfolio just using Bootstrap, it's perfectly fine. Okay, and that's more important. The important part is when I resize your submission, when I render it on different mobile phones, it should be 100% responsive. If it's not working that way, that means you are using the grid system incorrectly, and that's number one priority. Okay, if that is working fine, then if you want to customize your colors or you want to have exactly like your previous portfolio, yes, you will have to override the CSS because Bootstrap doesn't have those colors. Okay, but it's fine if you don't override those colors, that's okay. But the important point again is that you create your portfolio just using Bootstrap and it is responsive. Okay, that's more important because I want you guys to understand the grid system, the color thing and everything. You guys already know how to do that using the first homework, so that's done. That's okay. Okay, so don't worry about the colors or matching it. That's perfectly fine. Worry about if it is not responsive. That's what this homework is about. Okay, if it's not responsive, if it's breaking on different mobile phones and tablets, that's what you need to work on, and that's where the grid system comes in. This means probably you are not using the grid system correctly. Okay, the rows and columns thing, you need to look at that first. Okay, if you are done with that and you have some time, you want to match, you want to override the CSS with the colors, then go ahead and do it. But that's not important in this homework. Okay, because at this point I know you guys know how to change the colors and look at the CSS and override your CSS. Okay, any other questions? Everybody understand that? Same with the media queries one, right? What is more important is then when you resize, it resizes correctly. So media queries is the point of that homework, not the colors, not the fonts and everything. That's already done first homework, right? You guys have proven yourself, you know what to do with it. This is a little bit different. Okay? Any questions? Is everybody clear on that? All right? Okay. Today's class, we are starting JavaScript. All right, this is going to be extremely tough week for you guys for a couple of reasons. First of all, this would be your first programming language for most of you guys. Okay, for those of you who have never done programming, right? This is a lot different than HTML, CSS. HTML, CSS are not even considered programming languages. Okay, this is JavaScript is a programming language, and that's your first programming language. Okay, now for those of you who thought they didn't put enough time in HTML, CSS, or were kind of left behind, this is a second chance, and that's it. There are no more chances. So please study JavaScript like this is the programming language. Okay, if you get left behind in today's class, I'm telling you, you will not be able to catch up. There is absolutely no way, because you will see we have a lot of things to cover today. Thursday is even more, and by Saturday you guys should be like fairly knowledgeable about JavaScript. Okay, because next week we are studying jQuery. All right, this is the starting point, and everything after that you will not understand if you don't understand this thing. Okay, so I would highly recommend, please concentrate, study. I know there's only so many hours, but there's no way. You have to go back and redo these activities. Okay. People are going to ask me, is there a resource that I can use to learn JavaScript? Please do these activities. Okay. We are going to look at almost like 10 to 13 activities today. Even if you go back, uh, not tonight, maybe if you have some time, or tomorrow, if you spend the day on these exercises, trust me, you are in good shape for Thursday. Okay? You don't need any resources right now. Please just use these activities as a resource. Again, I know you have homework, but you have to come up with hours somehow. Okay? 55% on current week and 45% on homework, right? I would even say spend 60% of this time because this is important. JavaScript is extremely important. When you're looking for a job, they are going to interview in JavaScript, all right? There's a very slim chance they will ask you anything about HTML or CSS, but they will definitely ask you about JavaScript, okay? JavaScript is the foundation for web development. Um, this is how you're going to feel. I'll be honest, okay? You need to have some organization skills to power through JavaScript. JavaScript is weird on its own, right? Um, if you have studied some other backend languages, JavaScript is extremely weird, right? I this is my favorite language to hate on, right? But the truth is that web development is not complete without JavaScript. JavaScript is a major part of web development. You cannot escape from JavaScript. Um, as much as hate JavaScript gets, it's not going away, right? It's here to stay. It is the third language for web development, and that's the only language that your browser understands. Okay, it's not going away. You must have heard React and all those framework. Remember, the foundation for every framework is JavaScript, right? Anything that you can do with those framework, you can do it with JavaScript. It's just that somebody has come up with a better way. They have kind of created a layer on top of JavaScript to make things easy, but beneath everything, it's still JavaScript. So you need to understand the core concept. You need to know how to do it in JavaScript. And again, you can do without every framework, you can do the same thing in JavaScript. Everything is possible. Whatever you will see in jQuery, React, or anything, remember, everything you can do it in simple JavaScript. It'll be more complicated and more difficult, but the developers who have created those framework, remember, they are using JavaScript to do that. Okay, that's how important JavaScript is. Without JavaScript, the websites that you would create are static websites. They don't do anything, right? Even the button, the click of the button, you need JavaScript. If you look at Bootstrap, you see they are telling you to import JavaScript if you are trying to use the carousel or something more interactive. That's why. Because without JavaScript, it's just a static web page that doesn't do anything, right? Even that button click won't do anything unless you have JavaScript. Okay. Um, Again, the first one, review classwork immediately. There is no way that you will be able to complete class activities in class. That's how they are defined. They're kind of a little bit challenging, right? So my purpose over here is to give you a taste of it, give you introduction, but you need to go back and then redo those activities. What I'm going to cover is 100% the concepts. The first thing is make sure you understand the concept and then go to the coding part. Coding will come to you, but if you don't understand the concept, nothing would make sense. All right, so review those activities immediately. I see on Slack, and still I understand people ask a lot of questions, but all of those questions are centered around homework, right? I've rarely come across somebody actually asking a question about activity. All right, okay, maybe there were less activities, I get it, but this time, starting from today, there is a lot of activities. And again, I tell this to my students every time, but eventually it comes down to homework. They're like, oh, how do I complete my homework? I'm getting these issues. Rarely anybody has asked me, hey, I was redoing this activity, I did not understand that, right? I would highly recommend, please do the activities. You will see the homework for JavaScript is based on all of those activities. All right, by this week we are going to complete over almost like 30 activities or something. All right, just 10 plus are today, a few more Thursday and Saturday. Okay. Um, you will see the homework is based off of these activities. If you are doing these activities, homework will be a little bit easier. Is it challenging? It is, right? but your homework will cover, I would say, like 70% of the work would be done in these activities. Okay, 30% is more that you are required to kind of go in, research, and complete it. Okay, so this is how important these activities are. All right. I'm hoping this time it kind of changes, but we'll see how it goes. All right. All right. Any questions? Okay. Again, the more important point is please make sure you understand the concepts and then you go to the coding part. And I'm going to try my best. A lot of you guys, even before we get to JavaScript, came to me and they were like, hey, we did try to understand JavaScript on our own, but it's difficult. We didn't get it. Okay, this is your chance. I'm going to try to explain in English as much as I can. And then we need to learn the syntax also, but the foremost thing is we understand the concepts. Okay? And again, I'm honest with you guys. I'll let you know two people have already dropped out, and I've seen some dropouts after we introduced JavaScript. So it's not anything surprising to me. But this is how it is, right? It is challenging, yes, but you need to learn this, and this is what they ask. They need you to, in interviews, they're going to ask you to code in JavaScript. That's all they ask. Okay? All right. Any questions? Are you scared enough? All right. Well, that's good. Okay. Before I begin to talk about JavaScript and all that stuff, let's. I'm going to give you just like 5 minutes. This is exercise number 01. Download this from GitLab, and is and then just take a look at it. Discuss with your partners on the table. We won't talk about it. We won't discuss. I just want you guys to take a look at this code. If you want, you can run it, but you don't have to code anything. All right, we are going to go through each one of them individually in today's class. But I just want you guys to take a look at it, see if you can understand what is going on. Uh, just take like 5 minutes. That's all, and then we will start talking about JavaScript um, more formally. Okay, this is exercise number 01. It's called code dissection. Yes, I have uploaded everything. Please do a git pull. Again, I would highly recommend do a git pull before coming to the class because I upload my presentation. It's going to take a minute to download everything. So before you come to a class, every time do a git pull so that you can get the latest exercises and all. All right. Does anybody has issues doing a git pull and not able to look at those exercises? Everybody is fine with it? Okay. If not, let me know. I can ask the TS to send a Slack message with the exercise for now, but eventually we need to get better at that. Okay, let's do this. I hear clone and push and pull. Again, this has to be sorted out before. Forget about that. Could you please just Slack out the activity 01? The point over here is spend the time on activity. The git clone part is kind of take a look at the exercise, and that's what's important right now. If you are cloning right now, it's a little bit late, so we are not going to clone or work on that. I want you guys to look at the JavaScript file right now. And this is the instructions from download the code from Slack that Ethan has just slacked out. So you guys should see an HTML file in Slack, and this is how you would download it and take a look at it. This is for those who have not been able to pull from GitLab. All right. Uh, that's okay. We'll eventually, at the end of the class, I would ask you guys to take a look at the same file again, and I'm hoping it would make more sense to you guys than it makes now. Okay. So we are going to start our officially, formally JavaScript. Before I introduced JavaScript, what I like to do is I like to tell people what JavaScript is not. Okay. Before this class, I've heard this, and a lot of you, some of you guys have said this before, and I have let it slide, even though from inside I'm like cringing. But after today, this is not acceptable. Okay, this is not acceptable. JavaScript is not Java. It has absolutely nothing to do with Java. Okay, Java is a backend language. JavaScript is a front-end language that your browser recognizes. Okay, your browser only recognizes three things: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Right? I understand people get confused. It was a marketing ploy back in 1995. That's where the name came from, JavaScript. Initially, it was called ActionScript or something, but at that time, Java was becoming really popular, and they wrote JavaScript in like 17 days, and they wanted it to be the language of the internet, right? And the name they came up was JavaScript, right? That's the only thing that it has it, right? It was for marketing purposes because Java was becoming really popular, and they were like, hey, what name can we? First, they named it ActionScript, but it wasn't catching on, and then they named it JavaScript. Okay, so that's the only similarity. Okay, now every time somebody, what's the connection between JavaScript and Java? To me, it's like comparing these two and saying, oh, they both are kind of same thing. All right, no, they're not. All right, or saying Gandalf and Dumbledore are kind of same person, right? Okay, if these two are two nerdy examples for you, I have last one for you guys. Okay, this is the exact relationship between Java and JavaScript. Okay. Now I'm hoping after this class, nobody is going to come and talk to me about Java when they're referring to JavaScript, right? We are software engineers. We're not like recruiters who send me an email saying, "Hey, there's a good opportunity for JavaScript." I'm like, "Well, I'm a Java programmer." Yeah, it's the same thing. No, it's not. All right, everybody clear? Okay, so we are learning JavaScript in this course. We are not going to be learning Java or anything. Okay, it's a backend language. We have when we get to the backend part, it will still be JavaScript, and I'll talk about that more. But for now, the front end language is JavaScript, and that's what we are learning here. Okay, all right. So what does JavaScript do? HTML and CSS kind of add content and kind of makes those content look good. JavaScript is which takes action, which adds some kind of dynamic actions to our websites. Okay, that's the purpose of JavaScript. I said clicking the button, like changing something when somebody responding to user events. All of this is done with JavaScript. It is not possible to do any of those without using JavaScript. Okay. The hint is even if you look at Bootstrap, they have two JavaScript libraries that they tell you to incorporate if you are trying to use the carousel or some kind of animation and all those things, right? Because it's not possible to do any of those things until you have JavaScript. Okay. Um, with these two, right? If you want to be a graphic designer or you talk to graphic designers in the class or outside, this is the two things that they mainly use. That's it. Done. This is the tool of whole web development as a full stack developer. Okay. You're missing the database side, but that's okay. But this is the complete web stack if you want to create a working website that actually does something. So that's why you need JavaScript. Okay. As I said, it was written in 17 days. It's weird. It's different than any other programming language, but it is here to stay, and it's here, and that's the third and the foremost language that your browser understands. Okay. Now, how does your browser understand JavaScript? Every browser has what it is called a JavaScript engine built into it. Okay, a JavaScript engine. Right. That's what tells your browser how to understand JavaScript. JavaScript engine. Okay, Chrome has a different JavaScript engine. Firefox has a different JavaScript engine. Safari has a different JavaScript engine, right? All of those companies have written their own JavaScript engine. But what the purpose of this engine is to make your browser understand JavaScript. That's the purpose behind it. Okay. To you guys, you will not even notice a difference when you run your JavaScript in these different browsers. But behind the scenes, all of these browsers have written a JavaScript engine that makes your browser understand JavaScript. Okay. All right. That's the purpose of JavaScript engine. Remember this because when we go to the backend, I'm going to talk about this again, and it would help you understand the backend part of it, right? For now, understand that every browser has a JavaScript engine built in, and that's what allows your browser to understand and render JavaScript. Okay, without that engine, it's not possible to execute what JavaScript is talking about. All right, first step. In any programming language that you learn, you are going to come across variables. Now, what are variables? Okay, before we dive into variables, consider an example. Let's suppose you are relocating or you're changing houses, you're going somewhere, okay, and you want to pack your stuff, right? What do? You get boxes and then you put in stuff into it and you kind of label them, right? So that when you unpack them, it's easier to kind of identify what's going on, right? So the steps are you're going to obtain a box. Okay, this is my box. Okay, and then you're going to label that box. Okay, I labeled my box lamp. Okay, I'm going to put a lamp inside it, and that's why I labeled it lamp. And the next part is I'm going to actually go ahead and put a lamp inside it. Put the okay. Again, you're moving. First thing is you get a box and then you label it. It's a special box. You can only put one thing inside the box. After labeling it, you go ahead and put that thing that you want to pack inside the box. For example, over here, I have a lamp that I want to pack. So I get a box, I label that box saying it's a lamp, it's going to be a lamp inside it, and then I go ahead and put the lamp. Okay? This is the same concept for variables. Okay? Um, variable also holds things, just like a box holds things. Variables are going to hold data. Okay, variables hold data, but it's the same concept. Variable, consider variable as a box. The first thing is you obtain a variable, then you label that variable, and then you go ahead and put some data inside it. Okay. Now, what are the how do you do these steps? The first thing was obtain a box. Right now we are talking technical terms, so we are going to say obtain a variable, right? And you do this by saying WOVAR, var. That is the actual syntax. Okay. So in JavaScript, you're going to write the keyword var, and this will give you that box. This will give you that variable. Okay. The second step was to label that box. Okay. The next step is you are going to give a space, and then you're going to label it. Like, what are you trying to put inside it? All right. So I have created a variable called name. Right. This tells me that I'm going to store some data, which will be a name inside this variable. Right. The last step was you go ahead and put that thing in the box. So in this case, you're going to put some data inside that variable. Okay. Now, in technical terms, we are going to say that you are going to declare a variable called name, and then you're going to assign a name to that variable. Okay. And then every line in JavaScript, it's not required, but I would recommend getting into the habit. End your line of code with a semicolon. Okay. The first thing is obtaining a box, so you get a variable by saying the keyword var. Then you're going to label it. This means you're going to try to come up, okay, what are you trying to store? What kind of a data that you are trying to store? I'm trying to store a name inside that variable. Okay, so I'm going to label it, or I'm going to call my variable name. Okay, the next thing is I'm going to put some data inside that variable, and that's what the data is. Okay, this is the exact syntax of how do you create a variable. Any questions? Does everybody understand? Okay, now um, now I'm storing some data inside my variables. Okay, now there can be different types of data that I can store in my variables. All right, so you will hear another keyword called data types. This is an actual technical term. Okay, so what this means is what are different types of data that I can store in my variable. Okay, for now we are going to look at three different type of data types, and then we'll look at some more in the future. Actually, by the end of the class, we might look at one more. Okay, but what this means that the data that I'm trying to store, what is the type of that data? Right? The three data types that we are going to look at is the first is called string, the second is called number, and the last one is called boolean. Okay, string is letters and numbers, just like characters. That's what string is. And the variable that I have declared is a string. Why? Because I have double quotes around it. So every time you see a double quotes around data, this means the data type for that data is string. Okay, every time you see a double quote, it's going to be a string. The number data type is just going to be a number, 1, 2, 3, any number, negative number, positive number, decimal number, everything is a number in JavaScript. Right? I'm going to code this out in a minute. Boolean is data type for true and false. True, false. These are the only possible things that you can assign to a Boolean data type. true and false. Okay. All right. So before we go forward, let me go ahead and code this out so that you guys can see, and then we'll make sure we understand. Okay. So since this is JavaScript, I still need my HTML, but I'm not going to be concentrating on HTML and CSS a lot now. The only purpose of HTML is so that I can run my JavaScript. Okay, so my simple HTML, and that's all. Okay, now just like CSS, you have to add a link to your JavaScript. It's not using the link tag, but basically what I mean is you have to link your JavaScript over here in your HTML, right? Now there are two possible places that you can put, and the tag is called script. Okay, oops. Oh, come on. Oh, all right, so the script tag is just for JavaScript. Okay, anything that is between this script tag, your HTML will render it as JavaScript. Okay, now here's the thing about this script tag. Link, when you are using CSS, can only be found in your head tag, right? It cannot exist outside. It has to be inside your head tag. Script is kind of special. It can be inside your head, or it can be inside your body. Okay, you will find the script tag either in the body tag or within your head tag. Okay, now there are differences. There's a reason why they have this in both places, and we will, once we get a little bit more advanced, I'm going to talk about why it's over here or why is it over here. For now, our code is not going to break if we put it in the head tag, but just for an introduction, you will see the script tag either in body or in head. It can exist in both places. Okay, and there are reasons for it, and when we get a little bit more familiar with JavaScript, I'm going to talk about what's the reason for each one of them. For today, I'm going to put that in our head tag. Okay, so any code that you write within this script tags, your HTML is going to render it or read it as a JavaScript. Okay, now you can, if you guys were looking at the first the exercise, you must have seen that there's a script tag and there's a whole JavaScript within these two tags. But for best practices, just like CSS, I'm going to create a separate JavaScript file and I'm going to link it over here. You will not see me putting my code in my HTML. Again, it's the same thing. If it is CSS, in my HTML, I only want my HTML code. I don't want it to be crowded with CSS or my JavaScript code. Okay, so I'm going to create a separate file and then I'm going to link it over here. All right, and how do I do it? I'm going to create a file. This time the extension would be .js. Oops, it's outside. Move this in. Okay, and then in my script tag, I'm going to add this just like my screen, because I don't like my JavaScript in my HTML. It kind of crowds it. But you will see the activity solutions. You will see the script, the JavaScript in the HTML file. But I'm hoping that you guys understand the difference. And when you are solving, try to make it separate. Okay. I don't like it inside my HTML file. Since I'm live coding over here, I'm not going to put my JavaScript in my HTML. But the effect is still the same. Either you put your JavaScript between these tags or put it externally like this. It's still, there's no difference between them. The only difference is visual, and I am separating my JavaScript code from my HTML. Okay. All right. Any questions on this? Any confusions? Does everybody understand? Okay. And in your activities, you will see the JavaScript code in your HTML. I would highly recommend when you are solving, take that code, put it outside, and then make sure it is working. That's my recommendation. Okay, any questions? Everybody understand the linkage? Yes.
If you put the JavaScript in a separate file, does it still have to be in a script tag?
Yes, it has to be exactly like you have to declare, you have to create that connection, and this is the only way you create a connection. Yes. Otherwise, it won't recognize where the JavaScript is. Yeah, just like CSS.
Sorry, I mean in the actual JavaScript external file, does that come between the JavaScript tag as well?
No, this is the file. That's
Right,
it.
but if you open that file, and you want to start coding your JavaScript, that has to go in the script.
Oh no. There's no HTML in. Yeah, you don't have to put this script tag. Again, why is this required? Because this is a HTML file. That's why I need a tag. This tag is not recognized in your JavaScript file. No. Good question. Okay, and I'm going to code this, and you will see I'm not going to use script tag. But if you are putting JavaScript in your HTML, that's when you require the script tag. Okay. All right. So I'm going to switch over here. It's going to be my JavaScript, and I'm going to create a variable that I set over there. Okay, no script tags. And how do I do it? Var, all right, and then name. So this is the name. That's it. This is how you declare a variable in JavaScript. Okay, the data type for this variable is string. Why? Because it is in double quotes. Anything that is in double quotes, by default, you guys should be aware that it's going to be a string data type. So, and how do you make comments in JavaScript? 2 slashes, forward slashes. This is a string data type. Okay. Var, let's suppose I'm going to create a data type for number. This is how I would do it. Var, age, and then number without the quotes. Okay. Now this is valid. This is also valid number. This is also valid. This is also valid, right? JavaScript is a little bit different. That anything like this, it's going to consider this as a number. It kind of puts everything as a number. In different languages, you will hear different names like integers, decimals, floats, but in JavaScript, it's just called a number. That's it, right? So anything that resembles or you're using as a number, whether it has a decimal point or not, everything is considered a number. So this data type is a number. This is a number data type. What about what? Percentage. It does not recognize the thing like this. This is not valid. So you will have to be smart about it and kind of, if it's a percentage, then you have to do some calculation to come up with a percentage. And we'll see how to do it, but it does not recognize this as, you cannot put any sign before or after a number. It has to be like a simple number. Yes?
What about
Infinity.
yeah?
The word infinity or the symbol infinity?
Um, yeah, I guess either. Is that considered a number?
So this infinity that you show up over here, it is considering this a number if you see. So that's an interesting question. Nobody has asked that, and I'm not sure why would you use infinity, but it's a good question.
Generally, you want to avoid infinite things in JavaScript.
All right, let's look at our last one. Last one is a boolean. So let's say, and the boolean can only have two things: true or false. Please note there's no quotes over here. All right, anything else you put without quotes is going to freak out and it won't understand. This is not valid. If you run this, it's going to give you an error in your browser. Okay, because this is a string, it has to be in quotes, right? The only thing that it recognizes without quotes is either the numbers or a boolean data type. So the two words, true or false, and this is lowercase. Okay, and you will see the color changes in Visual Studio also. So this should tell you that this is kind of valid. But true, false, this is the third data type, and that's recognized by JavaScript. This is a Boolean data type. Okay, the only two values that you can put in a Boolean data type is true or false. Okay, any questions? Does everybody understand the three data types? Okay, now I'm not going to be using the English example that I give. It's getting more technical. So next time, if I'm saying, hey, declare a variable called name and assign Tony Stark to it, this is what I'm expecting that you guys will do. Okay, declare a variable called age, and it's going to be a number and assign the number 41 to it. So this is my expectation you guys will do it. Okay, so I'm declaring a variable and I'm assigning a data type to it, and the data type is a string. This should tell you that I'm saying that, whatever, go ahead and use double quotes and put some value inside it. Okay. Now, a good question would be that I'm talking about these data types, right? But if I hide the values, right? If I hide the values, can you tell what's the data type for this? Like if I create var address, right? Can you tell what the data type for this is? What is it? Number, strings? Okay, I mean, it's open to interpretation. You don't know what the data type is, and this is the same with JavaScript. When you declare var address, JavaScript has no idea if this is a string or this is a variable or this is a boolean. I could do this and JavaScript would be totally fine with it. Okay, so in other languages a little bit different. That's the weirdness of JavaScript. So JavaScript, how does JavaScript determine? It looks at the value that you assign and then says, oh, it's going to be a string. Okay, it interprets. It doesn't know at this point that your variable address, is it a boolean, is it a number, or is it a string? It doesn't know. Right, now if I do this, let's say false, JavaScript is going to say, oh, address is a boolean data type. Okay, and if I do this, JavaScript then is going to come back and say, oh, the address is now a string data type. Okay, and if I do this, JavaScript is going to come back and say, oh, address is a number data type. Okay, all of these are valid. The only thing is the JavaScript will not know what the data type is until you put some data inside it or until you assign some data to these variables. Okay, this is assignment. Another technical word.
You need quotes with is the string.
You need quotes if it's going to be a string. You don't need quotes if it's going to be a boolean or a number. Yes.
So if we declare the variable address,
Yes.
ask JavaScript, like, what is this type or return here?
No, it's not going to say anything. It's going to say object. I don't want to. Yes.
So if you have, for example, is Avenger somewhere else down in your code, and you suddenly decide to assign it like, oh, I don't know, a string, does that work just fine?
This thing.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll come back to this one. Any other questions? This is kind of getting a little bit advanced. This is. I'll answer that. Any other question? Does everybody understand the concept? Okay. All right. So Raymond, yes, JavaScript will not complain, and now suddenly is Avengers is a string. JavaScript is weird. Yes. At this point, this becomes a string. And if you guys didn't get it, don't worry about it. This is still a little bit too advanced. Raymond probably has some experience or something. That's why he asked. But for now, we won't worry about it. But to answer your question, yes, now it becomes a string. Yes.
Can you
You cannot force it at all. This is the forcing part. This is it. That's all you can do.
But there's no way to say stay
No.
as this type.
No.
Never change.
This is JavaScript. Everything is Wild West in 1995. This is it. Yes, Wild West out there. Yes, Christina. Yes, VAR is important. This is extremely important. This is why you are telling, remember obtaining the box? You are telling JavaScript that I'm about to declare a variable, right? This has to do with the memory and everything, but basically you are saying I'm going to create a variable, so you need the var keyword.
When you declare it.
When you declare it.
When you use it, you don't.
Right, when you use it, you don't have to do it, but the first time when you are obtaining that box, when you're declaring, you need to have the var keyword, define this, and then do this. Okay, we will see when we're using it, you don't need to use the var keyword, but this is, we are declaring a variable. So in technical terms, I'm saying declare a variable called name and assign Tony Stark to it of data type string. Okay, this is the technical sentence that I'm going to say, and this is the answer for that. Declare a variable. Again, understand these technical terms now, because this is kind of same across different programming languages, but the lingo is still the same. Declare a variable called name of data type string. This tells you are going to use double quotes, and assign Tony Stark to it. This means I'm going to use this operator equal to, I'm assigning this to this variable. Okay, basically in technical terms, I'm assigning this data to this variable. I'm assigning this data to this variable. I'm assigning this data to this variable. This one doesn't have anything assigned to it, right? Because I'm not using the equal to keyword. So line number 11, I just declared a variable called address, but I haven't assigned anything to it. Does everybody see that? Okay, so this is just the declaration, and this is declaration plus the assignment. That's how we talk about when we are using variables. All right. Any other questions? Yes. We are going to get there. Right now, it's not changing anything. Right. So again, one more thing. You will see we are going to tackle individual concepts, and then towards the end of the class and towards the end of the week, you will see all of these kind of coming together. All right. So learn them in isolation, but also make sure you connect the dots. Right now, yes, it looks simple. Maybe it doesn't do anything, but this is extremely important for what we are going to learn next. Then towards the end of the week, all of these concepts are going to come together, and then you will see what these actually do. For now, yeah, it doesn't do anything. It's just one chapter. Okay, we'll see what it is required for. All right, any other questions? All right, so let's do exercise number 3. Take a look at exercise number 3. Take a few minutes, and then I'm going to go ahead and solve that after half the time is over. If you guys are stuck, look up and see. Otherwise, you can ignore my solution and keep working on it. So we are doing exercise number 3. Okay, make sure you read the README file to understand. So you guys can see that the script tag is being used inside the body, and then the activity is actually just writing the JavaScript in the HTML file. So I'm going to separate this out and create my separate JavaScript file and copy this code over. Pizza variables.js. I'm going to create a JavaScript file. I'm going to put it in the header. Yeah. For now, in this case, it should still be fine. And then I'm going to copy everything from the script tags, and I'm going to remove the script eventually, but this is a good placeholder to remove this. I'm going to move this to my JavaScript file. Again, you don't have to do it, just my OCDness that I cannot see this. So I have moved everything in a separate JavaScript file. And then I'm going to, in my head tag, I'm going to link my JavaScript file using the script tag. Okay, and then I'm going to say source, and then I'm going to do // and then pizza variables.js. Okay, if I did this correctly, there should be, the output should still be the same. There shouldn't be any issues. Up to you guys. If you don't, if you are still confused about it, just go ahead and start working on the activity. In your when you're doing it at your home, I would recommend separating it out. For now, you can still do in the same one, but you will see me separating those out. If it's taking some time and you are still confused, don't worry about it. But the code that I'm going to show you will still work the same way. And I would highly recommend you guys to make sure to run this first and see what happens, and then go ahead and start working on it. So once you run your file without making any changes, do a inspect and click on the console tab, and you will see this error. Okay, I'm going to talk about console in a bit, but for now it's not required. But I want to show you that I have not solved this activity yet, and this is the error that I'm getting. And you should see this error. Once you complete this error should go away. Same thing that I did in the previous example that I showed you guys. So create three variables, one called name. So how do you create a variable? Var name and then assign your name to it. Okay, that's the first part. The pizza count variable should be set to a number. So var pizza count, let's say any number. And then the last is hungry, which should be set to true or false. So var is hungry and set it to true or false.
If you space in here, does that matter? The spacing or not really?
Which spacing?
Well, like, how do you do like this hungry? You have to have a space there for all of your line, or does that matter?
Yeah, you can do this also, but it's not good practice. If you format it, you see this is much better for visibility.
It's easier to read.
Yes. And always right click and format document so that it kind of formats to a better readability. So if this was successful, you should see some alerts kind of popping up with your um, data that you have filled out. So this is the 3 lines that is the solution for this activity. Create a variable name and then create a variable pizza count and is hungry. What is the data type for this one? String. Data type is number. And then data type is boolean. All right. Are there any questions on the solution? Does everybody understand what was required from this activity? Any questions on this? Good? Working? How many of you were able to separate this out in a separate JavaScript file? Ooh. Okay. All right. Let's look at the next one. All right. So the next concept is called console log. Extremely important, extremely useful. I won't say it's a tool, but when you're trying to debug something in JavaScript, you'll be using this a lot. Okay, it's called console log. Okay, and you will hear me saying when you come up with a question or the TS, they'll be like, hey, go ahead and log this and show me the value, right? So this is what they mean, console log. And what does this mean when it comes to code? And what is it used for? Let's go ahead and take a look at that. We can close this out and open back my activity. Let's go back to our variables. Okay. Console dot log parentheses and semicolon. Oops. Okay. One more time. This is the syntax. I'm going to explain what it means. All right. Again, it is console dot log parentheses and semicolon. Now, what is console, what is log from the technical term, and what are these parentheses? Once we get more advanced, you will understand what it is, and I'll break it down again at some point. But for now, we need to understand that what this line is doing. Okay. The first thing to understand is console. What is console? What is browser's console? Okay. When you do a let me do this. Let me go ahead and run this first. Okay. When you do the inspect, remember you guys are looking at the elements tab over here, and then you see your elements, what's going on, and then you look at the CSS on the right side. Okay. There is a tab over here called console. Let me clear this up. Okay. When you do a console.log, the console over here in the code is referring to this console tab over here. That's what it is referring to. Okay. Now, what does this code do? Anything that you put in between these two parentheses, it's going to output. Do you see this? Hello world over here. So anything that you put in between these parentheses is going to output and show you in this console. Okay. Now, for now, again, these are individual concepts. It might not make like what is the question would be what's the use of this, but we'll get to it and we will see what is the use. This is probably the most used line in JavaScript. All right, you guys will be using this a lot, right? But for now, understand when you say console.log, log basically means write whatever inside these parentheses. Where is it going to write? Right click, inspect, go to the console tab. That's where you will see this. Okay. Now the question is, what can I write in my console? What is the data type for this thing? It's a string, right? Why? Because it's in double quotes. Can I write a number? Why am I typing the whole thing? Yes, I can do a number also. Okay. Can I do a boolean? You can do a boolean as well. Can I console log a variable? Oops. So the variable that I have declared on the top is name. So let's start with name. So you see the difference between line number 13 and 19. 13, I'm console logging a string with double quotes and it exactly console logs that. The next time I'm doing a number and then it console logs that number. And then in the third line, I'm console logging true or false, and it console logs exactly the same thing. But when I console log a variable, instead of console logging name, it actually console logs the value that is stored inside that variable. Okay? This is the difference between this. Okay? Yes. Because this variable is declared and it has a value, that's what it does. Every time you console log a variable, it's going to go ahead and try to find what is the data stored inside the variable, and that's what it will log it. Yes. Yeah. Yes. It will override it. It will override it. Yes. What is it? Yeah. Yeah. You get, so for example, right now this is, so if I um, do this, what's going to happen is going to console log the latest one. So the previous one gets overwritten. That's what it does. Okay. So you are reassigning, and this is not wrong or anything. You will run into a case where you have to do it, and this might be the purpose, and which is correct. But whatever you do, remember that it's going to get overwritten with the next line, whatever the latest change is. Just like CSS linking, remember the last one kind of takes overchain, kind of similar to that. Okay. Important thing is this variable over here is going to output whatever the data is inside stored inside this variable. Yes, Josh.
Now, just is using bar just like best practice because it's still reviewing Captain America.
Best practice versus what?
Just like the declaration of it.
Yeah. If you don't declare and try to use, you will see a red error. JavaScript has kind of gotten better. Before it wouldn't even. So if I do name one, right? Have I declared name one? I have not, right? There's no variable called name one, and I'm trying to reference it. I'm trying to access it, and JavaScript will, well, your browser throws an error saying name one is not defined. So this tells me that I'm using a variable that I have not defined. I can also console log all the other variables, the age, right? This will give me the value which is stored inside the age. Okay. Again, so you can console log anything and everything. Again, what console log does is it will show you the output over here in your console. And the use over here is this variable you see over here. Now, at some point in code, you will come across that you are trying to store something in a variable that you have no idea it's coming from some other source, but you want to see what's going on, what's stored in there, and this is how you would do it. You will console log the variable, and then this will allow you to see, oh, this variable has a value called Captain America. Okay, that's what the use case for this is. All right, questions? Everybody understand what console log is doing? It is logging, it is writing to your console. And how do you access your console? Right click, inspect, or go to these tools, click the console tab, and it will show over here. All your errors from JavaScript are also going to be shown in your console. Okay, remember I used a variable which I did not declare. Error shows up in your console. So when you right click and inspect, the first thing you will see is elements, and you will see a red over here, right, across. So this tells you, oh, something in my code is wrong. I did something wrong. And then you go to your console and see what's going on. Okay?
So with that error, it doesn't display the page. It just stops it.
Here's a good thing. It will still display the page, but it depends what your page. If your page is dependent on this in your name variable, then your page will get that cross or the image won't render. Something weird will happen. But JavaScript and HTML, they will never not render your page. They will attempt their best to render it. It won't be the same result, and you will see some different issues over here, right? But they will not kind of point it out unless you go into inspect. So if I am here, if I close this out and I do name one, I have no idea what happened, right? I'm like, oh, I don't know what's going on. right? They will never complain. You will never get an error. You have to actually dig into it and kind of look into your console and see if something is wrong. Okay, that's the beauty of HTML and JavaScript. And I'm being totally sarcastic right now. All right, yes, Raymond.
And like the, I mean, this is obviously obvious, but it only knows what's wrong in the current state of the page. Like, so until you encounter, like, you click a button, it's not going to show you an error until you click the button.
Yes. If you wrote a code that is going to be executed when you click the button, then yes, then the error is going to happen. Yes. For now, it's not dependent. For now, it's going to execute this whole line, this whole page. That's why we are seeing the error. But yes, if you write some code, and we'll see how to do that. If you have a code written that only executes when you click that button, yes, that error is going to come up when you actually do something. Yes. Okay. Now, what are the things we can do in console? You can add numbers. Okay, it's going to output the addition of these two numbers. This is valid. You can do that. Okay. You can add two strings. Let's see. And it's going to concatenate or combine these two strings. You see there's no space. Why? Because I have Tony without space, without space. If I want to add a space, you can add a space here or add something space. But basically it is combining two strings. Okay. If you put in two numbers, it's going to add, subtract, multiply, whatever you want to use over here, it's going to do that. All the mathematical operations are valid. So this will multiply 21 by 2 and give you the result. Okay, you can, if you are using two strings, it's going to basically combine both strings. What happens in this case if I do a string and a number? Put it all as a string. So string will take precedence over here. If you try to add a number to a string, it's going to make both of them as a string and then put this over here. So what if I have a number inside it? Does it make any difference?
What is the purpose of this?
Purpose of what?
Of this?
Console log?
Yeah, it's
Right.
just to show it up on console.
Right. Yes, Sarah.
So to put something in the console log, it doesn't have to be a declared variable.
It doesn't.
You can put anything. You can create a string with a new
Yes,
string.
just like this, you can do this case also, you can do this, and you can use variables also. But most of the time, you will be doing this a lot. Why? Because you want to see what the data is inside it. Let's suppose everything is hidden from me. At this point, I don't know what name consists of. The only way to for me is to console log name and see what is actually stored in the name. That's why. Line number 25. You guys see what happened? Instead of outputting 6, it combined and it said 3 3. Okay, so remember, if you are trying to add or concatenate a string with a number, it's going to consider both of them as a number. Is this a string or a number? It's a string. Remember, double quotes, doesn't matter what's inside the double quotes, it's always a string. Okay, all right, questions? All right, let's do exercise number 05. Yes, 05. Same thing, you're going to be using console log this time. Number 5. Alright, I'm going to do the same thing with this one also. I'm going to move my scripts in a new file. I'm going to call it pizza war 2. Yes. Okay. Paste this here. Remove my script tags, and then format it. It's nice. Okay, and then include this in my script. Okay. And I'm going to run this before I start coding, and shows me some alerts. It's doing something. And I'm going to close this. Don't need this. All right. Let's look at the README. Using the file above as a guide, modify the code so that it uses console log instead of alerts. Okay. Yeah. So whatever is inside alert, you can replace this with console log. So instead of alert, remember console.log and then parentheses, the same thing. The only difference over here is they're using alert, so you need to replace alert with console log. But within console log, you'll have the exact same thing. All of these should work as it is. So for practice, I would highly recommend you type the whole thing out. You say console.log and then welcome name, and then remove this file, then console log pizza cost $5 each, then remove this line, then type the same thing out, console.log parentheses, type this out, and then remove this whole thing. Okay, just to get in the habit. And if you have done this correctly, you shouldn't see these alerts coming up anymore. These things, they shouldn't show up after you are done with this exercise. So what do? Console.log parentheses and then welcome colon space plus name. So this will replace this first line over here. So I'm going to remove this. Okay, so I have to do the same thing with all of them. Same thing over here, and then you can remove this. Same thing here. Remove this. So now everything should be on the console instead of alerts. All right, if you are done, let's take a break and we'll start back at let's say 8:05. Okay, take a break and then we'll start back at 8:05.
Okay, yeah, it should, I hope it doesn't plug in if it doesn't work on the side. Wreck your battery.
So did you try adding your disk or your keyboard at business? Right, but if
Yeah.
So basically just not like one thing correctly, so that's why I live server is just like adjusting for that sometimes. But yeah, that's one of the issues. Yeah. But I like when it's like here and then I don't want to do it like otherwise it's like an A and I didn't want to like take off or something. So like thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like nothing about what you're doing is wrong. You might want to comment on the word or change the console or stop blog. Oh, you just want it to be. Oh, okay. You can do that temporarily. I don't know why this.
These.
Because there's something somewhere like this. Some of these scroll up a bit. Some of these tags are not. It seems like the things are missing. I mean, I don't see why that matters, but there's space. Doc type instead of space. I don't know why that would matter, but it should be that doc. Oh, it's not doc type. Oh, okay, now I see. So, okay, so see where the script is tag? Which is like this, so you go into the tab. All the tags, so those tags are not.
Yeah, because by leaving that alert,
All of them, yeah. JavaScript not, but JavaScript.
That's like.
So see what says. Oh, I know.
That's what I'm saying. Oh, so you've added a lot of this.
Is there, so if you go to your HTML, calling that there, so try to run this session. So this is like I put on there. Right. You have to hold on to this because it's bad. I guess the idea is to open the policy. Okay, so
So you know how you were getting that message? So what I've learned is to make it easier, so like I just so I have like long stuff.
It's still worse.
Because if you have one and then you just open up like a file in there, it's not gonna.
Because I have some nice workspace I made it so that.
No, because
that should be
because see, like I can open all of these.
But the problem is you don't want
And
to
they can all
control.
But before, if I just have to go basically find it and just open up the activities in it would make closeout looks bad.
No, because see, it's not, go back to your, take that. No, that thing is this. Word guess. Just see, that's probably why. So there's okay, so back to your,
It makes sense. Yeah.
okay, see how you replace it. The thing is, all these tags, 4 hours just to make like the white guy.
Well, there's two. So there's so it's all right.
Like the kids usually play like is that
Yeah.
no, I did this on accident. I somehow
If you want
That is interesting. I want to know absolutely, Chris.
that's what I give you.
Forget about the lesson. Your job is to find that shortcut. How did you do?
Oh, that's cool. You know, it's getting like switch plays or do subs and stuff like
All right. Any questions on this current activity that we did before the break? Everybody was able to replace alert with console log. Any questions? So you should be able to see your console log output over here. Okay? All right. So the next topic we are going to talk about these prompts that you see in the code that you are working on. You saw alert, confirm, and prompt. So we are going to talk about what are those three things. If I think alert is there, there might not be the other two. So you see alert, confirm, and prompt. What are these? So we saw console log. What does console log does? It logs or it outputs in the browser's console. Okay. These things, alert, confirm, and prompt, they are going to show you a window on your browser. That annoying window that we see keep popping up every time you run your code in the previous examples. This is what all three of them does. Right? They do it in a different way, and I'm going to walk you guys through what each one does. But these things are not going to output in your console. Console log outputs the code or whatever you have in your console. Those three, alert, confirm, and prompt, are going to show a window on your browser. Okay, that's the first difference between all of this and console. Okay, Now, there are differences between all three of them, and we'll look at some code. I'm going to type it out and show you what are the three differences, what are the use cases for each one of them. Okay, but remember, those are prompt, those are boxes, those are windows that show up when you run your code. Okay, so let me close this. I'm going to open the example that I've been working on. All right, let's run my HTML so I don't have to keep coming back here. All right, let's go back here. Different types of, let's call it prompts. So the first one we look at is alert. Okay, what does alert do? This is the syntax similar to console log, but the keyword is just alert. And then whatever you put in alert, it just shows up on your browser as a window. And whatever the text is, it will just display the text, and it's going to have an OK button. Right? That's simply an alert. Okay? Just as the name says, it's going to alert you with something. Whatever you put in over here is going to create a window box with an OK button, and it will show the text that is here. All the rules that you saw with console log apply all three of them. So you're going to have, if it's a string, it's going to show a string. If it's a number, it will show up as a number over here. Okay, true, false, everything is the same. You can output variables too. It's going to show the value or the data inside that variable. Okay, again, what does alert do? It shows up a window, a pop-up. Okay, and then this pop-up will have the value or whatever you're trying to show in these parentheses, and then it's going to have just one OK button. Okay, types of, let's call it pop-ups. That's a better name. Okay, that's your first pop-up called alert. Okay, the second one is, should I do, let's see, confirm. Let's look at confirm. Same syntax as alert. The name just changes to confirm. I'm going to comment this out, otherwise it's going to keep bothering me with that pop-up. Confirm, parentheses, and then something goes over here. Oops, hold on. What does confirm do? If you see, this confirm is kind of similar to alert. The only difference you will see, it will have two buttons, cancel and OK. Okay, we use confirm just if you're trying to confirm something. So for example, you have a website and you have a delete functionality. You delete something, right? And then you will see this pop-up come up, say, are you sure you want to delete this? Okay, then you go ahead and delete it. If you say cancel, it doesn't delete. Okay, that's the functionality for confirm. All right, confirm will have two buttons, OK and cancel. Okay, now what do you think is the data type for OK and what is the data type for cancel? String. Somebody else said what? True, false. Okay, so what this means over here, OK refers to true and cancel refers to false behind the scenes when you're talking with JavaScript. On the screen it says OK and cancel, but in the code behind the scenes you are going to see OK refers to true and cancel refers to false. Basically these are your Boolean data types. Okay, now here's the thing. If I say that whatever confirm, the result or confirm is going to be a Boolean type, you can store this in a variable. let's say variable do. Okay. Now these are these all have a different name. These are called functions, but we'll look at on Thursday. We'll kind of dissect them. But understand that when I said that the result is going to be true or false, if you assign a variable, if you declare a variable, and then basically assign whatever the result of this is, your do it is going to either have true or false. All right. Now here's the part. I want to see the result of do it. How do I do it? I want to see what's stored in do it. Console log. You see the use of console log. Um, at this point, I don't know what's going to be stored in my variable called do it, but eventually I want to see what is there. If OK was clicked or cancel was clicked. Now go to your console. Let's go ahead and comment this out. Move these. All right. So I have a confirm with an OK and a cancel. If I click OK, it should output true. Why? Because if I click OK, this is going to return true. It's going to assign it to my variable do it, and then I'm console logging to see what value is inside do it. Okay. If I press cancel, it's going to say false. Okay. So remember, confirm is used for basically confirming something, and the output or the result or confirm is going to be either true or either false. Okay. And if you want to see the result, this is how you would do it. You would declare a variable and then assign the result of this into this variable, console log to see what was actually clicked. Was it false? If it were false, you can safely say that cancel was clicked. If it's true, you're going to say OK was okay. Confirm actually gives you back a result whether the user clicked OK or whether they clicked cancel. Yes.
So if you don't put the bar to it here, it won't be true or false.
Yeah, it wouldn't know what to do. It's going to give me an error saying you did not declare a variable. Do it. Right? So the result of this is being ignored. That's what we say. The result of this is being so in your code. If the result from this line is dependent on something, you wouldn't know what the user selected. There's no way to find out what they did. Okay, the only way to find out is you kind of store that, you create a variable and assign it to a variable and store the result that comes back from this line right here. Okay, so confirm is going to return you true or false. Those are the only two possible combinations that confirm returns. Okay, alert does not give you back anything. Okay, remember that. All right, any questions? Prompt also returns something to you, but it's not restricted to true and false. Okay, prompt. Confirm is restricted to true and false, but if you want something else to be returned other than these two, that's where prompt comes in. So I'm going to comment this out so that it stops, and then I'm going to use prompt, same thing, same syntax, parentheses, and then semicolon, and then you can put anything over here. This is a prompt. Okay, so let's go ahead and so when you create a prompt, this is what shows up: a window with an OK and a cancel button, similar to confirm, but then it has an input box. like an HTML and input box, and you can type in anything you want over here. Okay, and that's what comes back to your code over here. So let's go back here. Whatever I typed in over here, this is a prompt. This is where the text will show up. Okay, and this is whatever you type it in, and that's what will come back to your code. Let's go ahead and press cancel. Do same thing over here. Create a variable. Result. Let's call it result, and then store that in that variable. To see what's inside this variable, let's go ahead and console log that and see what's coming back. All right. So if I type in results, anything, result of prompt, press OK. Result of prompt. So this is coming from this line. Okay. So whatever you type in that box on the screen is going to save that in this variable, and then you can console log and see what's going on. Okay. Now let's try a few different cases. What if I type in a number? It's going to return you exactly what you typed in. You can type in true or false or anything. Okay. What if I don't type anything? I just press OK. Just empty space. Let me try this again. Let me clear this. And I haven't typed in anything and I'm pressing OK. So it returns me empty space basically. That's what it comes back. Right? There's nothing over here. What if I press cancel? See that? Null. If you press cancel, the result is going to be null. Okay, that's one of the things in JavaScript. So null basically means that there is nothing inside your variable. Okay, space and null are different. Space means there is something, it's just empty space. Null means that your variable has absolutely nothing in it, it's just empty. Okay, again, if you press cancel, that's what your variable is going to hold. Cancel is going to have null in it. And then if you press OK, it's going to have something which is basically empty space. But even if that's confusing, you can forget that. The more important is that whatever you type in, when this box comes up, it's going to come back in this variable. Again, how is this different from confirm? Confirm only gives us true or false. Prompt, you can type in anything you want and it will show up over here. Okay, this is like a free form kind of deal with you. Okay. Now, well, yeah, I'll show you guys in a minute. All right. Any questions? You guys see the difference between alert, confirm, and prompt? Alert, just an alert shows up, doesn't do anything, doesn't return anything, right? It's just for alerting basically. Confirm is for cases where you want to confirm something from the user. The result is always going to be true or false, nothing else. Okay. Prompt is free form. It gives you a prompt. It gives you a nice input box. Whatever the user or whatever you type in that, it's going to return the exact same thing over here. Okay. Now, what do you think is the data type for result? String. Okay. So what if I type in a number here? Is it still a string or it becomes a number? Still a string. Can't confuse you guys. How do we test this out? Let's say var add result is equal to number 3 plus result. Okay, and then console log this. So if I type in a number 5, right, if this is a number, it should add and give me 8 back. If it is a string, it's going to say 35, which is 35. Okay, so this tells me that the result that comes back from this is always, always, always going to be a string. Whether you type in a number, whether you type in true or false, whatever you type in, it's always going to consider that as a string. Okay, remember that. So the return that comes from the prompt is always going to be a string. For confirm, it's boolean, true or false. For prompt, it's always a string that comes back. Doesn't matter what you type in. String, for this one it is boolean. And error, alert doesn't return anything. All right, questions. Everybody understand the difference between the 3 pop-ups? Okay? All right. So go ahead and look at exercise number 7, and now it would make more sense what alert, what confirm, and what prompt are doing. So exercise number 7.
It's 6 or 7?
It's number 7. So basically you're going to use all 3 types of pop-ups and complete that code. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen it. I don't know, so I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Okay. I just hadn't seen anything but brain, but
Right.
I'm pretty sure.
Right,
After
yeah.
first week here,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna hang out anymore.
you are correct, sir. So using a confirm, ask the user, do you like sushi? So I'm going to use confirm box, confirm pop-up. So var create a variable, let's call it confirm sushi, and then confirm do you like sushi? Okay, and then I'm going to console log this too because I want to see what the user said, whether they said true or false. Confirm sushi. So if I say okay, it should show true. If I say cancel, it should show me false. So that's the first thing, confirm box. So second is using the prompt. So let's go ahead and create a variable var. I'm going to call it prompt sushi. So I'm going to call the function prompt. What kind of sushi do you like? And then I'm going to console log the result of this prompt. First thing, do you like sushi? Okay. And then whatever I type in, it shows up on my console log. And then in your alert, you're going to show, instead of console logging, you're going to show the variables inside the alert. Alert both the variables. So the first variable is called confirm sushi. So alert that, and then alert the next variable, which I called prompt sushi. So if I say false, I don't like, and then I say something that's okay, the alert is going to show me what I selected in the first variable and then what I selected in the second variable. All right. Any questions on this exercise? Everybody good? Are you guys still separating the JavaScript code out or giving up? Still doing it? Separating the JavaScript code out in a different file? Okay. All right. Let's take a look at the next one. Okay, so the next topic is called conditional statements. Okay? Conditional statements. All right. So what are conditional statements? Now, if you look at your current code over here, if I run this, it says, "Do you like sushi?" Okay. If I say okay, it's fine. But if I say cancel, this means I don't like sushi. Still, it's going to ask me the next question: what kind of sushi do you like? Right? Even though I said in the previous question I don't like it, it's still asking me what kind of sushi do I like, right? How do we prevent this kind of situation, right? This kind of situation can be prevented with something called conditional statements. These statements evaluate what your answer was, okay? Whether you said true or whether you said false. Based on that is going to take a decision. Okay, basically these are also decision statements. And when you talk in code, you will also hear the word if else. These are also called if else statements, right? The more technical name is conditional statements, but as developers, you will see people calling it as if else statement. Okay, so these if else statements help us with this kind of situation. They check what the user answered, okay, before asking the next question. And how do they do it? They use if else statements. Okay, so let's take a look what it actually means in code. um, First of all, the syntax is as I have written over there. It starts with an if, okay, parentheses, and then curly braces, open close. Okay, this is the basic syntax of an if statement. Okay, if parentheses and then curly braces. Now there's something going to go in over here also and over here also. Okay, but this is how you start the syntax: if parentheses and then curly braces, open close. Okay, now what goes inside the first or the only parentheses? This is called, whatever you put in over here is called condition. And the result of that condition has to be true in order to execute the code that is written in parentheses. Okay, one more time. So in the parentheses, it's called condition, and this condition has to be true in order to execute the code that will be written in curly braces. Now, right now, I don't have a condition. I'm going to put the condition. Basically, the syntax is if condition, of course, this is not right. I'm just writing it out. And then code to be executed. Executed. Let's make this a comment so that you guys know that this is not an actual syntax. Okay, so you're going to put a condition. The result of that condition is going to be a boolean. It's going to be either true or false. If it is true, then it's going to execute the code that is going to be inside these curly braces. If it is false, it's going to skip this. That's what this condition does. Basically, if you read in English, it says if this condition is true, then go ahead and execute this code. Okay? What happens if it is false? Then you have another keyword called else, and then curly braces again, code to be executed. When is this code executed? When this condition is false. Again, what does it say? If this condition is true, go ahead and execute the code that is between this and this. Okay, let me put this in a separate line so that it doesn't get confusing. You will see that this is more written, but this is a better way to see it. Okay, so if this condition is true, go ahead and do this. Else, what does this mean? That this condition was false. If this condition is false, then go ahead and do this. Okay, these are called conditional statements or if-else statements. Okay, the if condition, this gets executed when this is true, and if it is not true, which is false, then the code over here will be executed. Okay, any questions on this? Does everybody understand the concept of if-else statement? Okay, now looking back at our example, the confirm one, do you like sushi, right? If the user says true, then I want to write some code over here to ask the next question, right? If the user says cancel or false, then I want this code to be executed, right? Okay, again, so in my sushi code, yes. As many as what? If or else? As many as if. Yes. I will show you the code for that as well. Okay, we'll start with one, and then I'll show you that you can have multiple. But there's a catch for that. We'll see what it is. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and try to solve this for our previous code. So what was going on that I was asking a question over here, confirm sushi, right? And what is the data type for this one? Boolean, right? True or false. So based on this, if this is true, which is saying I like sushi, I want to ask the next question, right? If I select false or it is cancel, I don't want to ask this question. Okay? So my condition, what would be my condition? My condition would be if my variable confirm sushi is true. Is true. Okay, now is incorrect over here. We're going to replace this is. But in English term, this is what I'm trying to say. If confirm sushi is true, then go ahead and ask that question. Which question? This prompt sushi one. So I'm going to move this question inside my code over here. Okay, so as long as I say yes, I like sushi, it's going to ask me this question. If I say no, it's just going to skip this question. It's not going to ask me any question. It's going to come over here. Right now I don't have anything. We'll kind of fill this up with something. Right now it's going to stop over here. It won't execute this code. Okay. Now this, the technical way to do this is you put 3 equal to. Okay. Remember we saw when we are creating a variable, we are using 1 equal to. This is called assignment. You're assigning something. When you're comparing, if this is equal to true, you're comparing these two things, okay? On your right hand and on your left side, okay? The operator to compare these two is 3 equal to. You will see double equal to, but don't use double equal to. Once we get more advanced, I'm going to explain what the difference is. But for now, they both act the same way. But the good practice is to use 3 equal to. Okay, 1 equal to is called assignment operator. You're assigning something. 3 equal to means a comparison operator. You are comparing this with this. Okay, so basically I'm saying if this variable is true, then go ahead and execute this code. Yes, we have a
So, so if you put if sushi and nothing else, that works fine, right? But
Yeah.
the question that I have is that equivalent to a double equals or a triple equals?
What was that?
So is it, so if you use confirm sushi in the parentheses and nothing else,
Uh-huh.
is that the same as a double equals or a triple equals?
It's a triple equal.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay. All right. Again, Raymond has some prior knowledge, so just ignore his question. We'll come to that. Okay. Just remember. Yeah, I know what he said. Just remember this for now. When we get a little bit more advanced, you will see there are some shortcuts to write this statement. For now, I want you guys to understand what this is happening, so just stick to this for now. All right.
So same thing, it would be confirmed sushi 3 equal signs and then false. And then it would be code executed.
Yes. So if I put false over here,
And there would be a separate code executed.
there will be what?
Be a
Yes.
separate code. Be the false code executed.
If no. So again, this statement has to be true.
Oh, it has to be true.
It has to evaluate to true. Okay. And we'll see what in the next exercise we will see what each one of them evaluates to. For now, remember that the condition over here has to evaluate to true. Okay. So if I select false, if I say cancel, this variable becomes false. So basically I'm trying to compare false with true. So my statement becomes is false is equal to true, which is not. So that's why this condition gets not executed. Okay? This condition will only get executed when this is true. Okay? So, else, let's do an alert and say you don't like sushi. Okay. Let's see. So let me go ahead and comment some of these things out so that it doesn't. Do you like sushi? I need this, but I don't need this for now. I don't need this. I don't need this. Let's go ahead and delete all this code. Okay. So let's go ahead and run this. Oop, wrong file. Okay, go back here. So it's saying, do you like sushi? If I say okay, then it's going to give me a prompt, right? Now, if I say cancel, it's going to give me an alert saying you don't like sushi. Okay, so this condition, when this is true, this code will execute. When this is false, this code will get executed. Okay, Now initially yes, any questions? There is a question if I can have multiple ifs. You can, and they can be chained together. Okay. You can have multiple ifs, and it's called chaining. They can be chained together, but you can only and only have one else. Okay. Else can only be one, but what you can have is something called if else together. Okay, so again, so you can have just one if standalone and one else. Okay, if you want multiple conditions, then you have to use if else together. Okay, what does now understand what is this going on? It is saying if confirmed sushi is true, then do this. Else, I think I wrote it the other way. It's else if let's say confirm sushi is false, then you can move this code here. Okay, so now you have two conditions. You are checking both conditions. You are saying if confirmed sushi is true, then do this. Else if confirmed sushi is false, you're kind of explicitly saying if it is false, then do this. Otherwise, if none of them is selected, then do this. In this case, this doesn't make sense because we have only two options, right? It can be true or it can be false. Let's suppose we were using some kind of a number. Let's create another var sushi count. Okay, and then you ask a question prompt. And then you say how many sushi do you want? Okay, so it's going to give me a number. It's going to show me this prompt box, and then I'm going to enter some number, and it's going to come over here. Okay, and then I can confirm. I can say if sushi count is equal to 1. Okay, show an alert saying you want 1 sushi. Okay, else if sushi count is 2, then you can say you want 2 sushis. Okay, because now we have multiple conditions over here. Okay, you can select some number, but right now I have for 2. I'm checking if sushi count is 1. I'm going to say okay, you want 1 sushi. Else if sushi count is 2, I'm going to say you want 2 sushis. What's going to come over here? This means that if the user doesn't select 1 or 2 and select something else, you want more than 2 sushis. Something that makes sense. Okay, so the important point here is this code will be executed if all your conditions fail. If this is false, then it's going to by default come over here and execute this. So this is how you can chain your if else. You can have as many else if you want. You can have as many else ifs you want. You can have else sushi count is equal to 3. Okay, and then you can kind of keep going. Okay, so this is how we chain our ifs and else ifs together. Okay, but remember you can only have one if standalone and you can only have one else. If you need more conditions, you're going to use else if together like this. Okay. All right. Any questions? Okay. Let me make sure. Okay, it's kind of similar to the sushi exercise, but just the use case a little bit different. You're asking a different set of questions. Okay, and in this one you will see that there's just a readme file. You don't have any code or anything. So what do you have to do? You have to create a HTML file, create a JavaScript file, link them together, and write everything from scratch. There's no code given to you guys for this one. Oops. Um, let's see. So this is the only file you have. So you have to create it from scratch. Create an HTML file, create a JavaScript, link them together, and then start from this. They ask if you like, if you eat steak. So I'm going to create two files, my HTML and then my JavaScript file, conditional.js. I'm going to write my JavaScript here and then include my I'm going to write my HTML and include my JavaScript file here. So condition, and this should be it. Yes.
You didn't talk about document.net, correct?
No, not yet.
So guys, in the readme, it talks about a document.get.
Oh, it is. It's already here.
So you can just use an alert or console log. Document.write will actually print it to the browser screen.
Yeah, I think it's for. We'll talk about it. Use alert, and I'll talk about what document.write does. So the first thing is ask users if they eat steak. So the answer should be true or false. So which one am I using? Alert, confirm, or prompt? Confirm. Okay. So var eat steak is equal to confirm. Do you eat steak? Okay, this is how you do the confirm. Now the next line, if they respond with yes, write the following to the page. Here's steak sandwich. So the clue is if they respond with yes. And then if they respond with no, then you have to do this. So you can use console log or alert, whatever. I'm going to use console log because alert kind of becomes annoying pretty quickly. Let's go ahead and run this. Make sure this is running. Okay. Okay, so it shows up over here. Do you eat steak? Okay or cancel? If, okay, so if eat steak is true, what am I doing? Here's a steak sandwich. So let's go ahead and create an alert. Alert says here's a steak sandwich. And if they say no, write the following. Here's a tofu stir fry, which would be else alert here's a tofu stir fry. So let's go ahead and test this out. If I say okay, it should say here's a steak sandwich. Okay. And if I say cancel or no, it should give me here's a tofu stir fry.
Oh, yeah. You like using your blankets on new lines like that?
No, no, I did it for
Good for
him.
you. Yeah, I kind of do though.
Oh, you do that?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, I like it like
You
that.
like them like that?
Yeah,
You're just doing it for them.
yeah, I was just doing it for them.
Right.
Initially, I used to do it, but it kind of got used to the
Right. Everyone else does it, right?
yeah, kind of got used to it. Yes. Oh, so it's optional. Yeah, you can put it in the next line, it will work. But this is once you get used to the syntax, this is how you will see generally programmers are writing. Start here and here, but you can write in this in the separate line. It's fine. All right. Did anybody try the document dot write and see what happens in the hint? You tried it. What does it do? Okay. Okay. Um, that should be fine. I think so. Oh, yeah. So the options are greater than less than or greater than equal to like this,
Yeah.
or less than equal to.
Oh, okay, so I had 3 equal signs before that.
No. Is it 1 equal to or 3? Yeah. Yeah, I think it should be 1. Yeah, 1 would be. So what I was asking is anybody tried the document dot write? Okay. What does it do?
Instead of giving me the alert, I'll write it as HTML.
It will write it to HTML. That's what document dot write. So if I replace this with document dot write, and then replace this alert with document dot write, instead of showing me an alert, it adds your code to the HTML. Okay, so basically in your browser you will see this message over here. Later on in detail we will see what document and what this actually means. But right now what it is doing, instead of alert, what it does is console log, you have to look up console, right? You have to do inspect and look into your console, right? If you're using pop-ups, they show up in a window. If you use document.write, it actually renders the text in your HTML in your browser. So that's the difference between these two. All right, any questions on the if else condition? All right, so I will introduce one last concept, and then there are some activities. I'm leaving out the bonus. I want you guys to try it. I'm going to tell which activities. And I want you guys to try it, and then we can discuss that in the next class. All right, let's look at one last thing. All right, so the data types that we saw were 3, right? String, number, and boolean. There's the next data type that we will look at is called arrays. Okay, so the thing with remember the box example that I was giving when you're trying to pack, it's a special box. You can only put one thing inside it. Okay, if you want to put multiple things, that's where arrays comes in. Okay, arrays is another type which allows you to put multiple data inside it. Okay, um, let's see. So basically, in technical terms, we are going to say arrays is a collection of data. Okay, variable can store one kind of a data type. Arrays can store multiple data inside it. Okay, and how do they do this? Let me go back and open my example and then create an array for you guys. All right, let's start from here. All right, so the syntax for creating array variable is kind of similar. You're going to say var. It's a data type, right? We saw when we are trying to create a string, number, or boolean, the syntax is same, right? Var name, and then you assign something to it. So this becomes a string, right? For array, it's kind of same thing. Let's create a variable var, or not create a variable, declare a variable, give it a name. I'm going to call an array called Avengers. Okay. Now, how do we identify this is an array? Square brackets. Okay. These square brackets tell JavaScript that this is now an array. For strings, use double quotes. For numbers, it's a number. For Boolean, you use true or false. For arrays, you're going to use square brackets. And within the square brackets, your data is going to be stored. Okay? But as soon as you say square bracket, this becomes an array. Okay? This is an array of. Okay? Now, what can I store in this array? I can store strings, I can store numbers, I can store booleans. For example, okay? But I can store multiple, right? So how do I separate these out? By a comma. Comma, space. Space is optional. I like to give a space so that kind of is more visually pleasing. And then you can keep adding your data inside it. And so on and so forth. Okay, so this is an array, and what does it contain? It contains string data types. Okay, the data that is contained inside this array is of string. So basically we are going to say this is an array of strings. Can I have an array of numbers? Yes. Avenger pages. Okay, so this is now an array of numbers. Similarly, you can have an array of booleans. This is just an example, false. Okay. Again, what is an array? Array is a collection. Okay, and you can store multiple data inside it. Okay, and the declaration is these square brackets. These denote that this is going to be an array. That's how JavaScript identifies this as an array. Okay, it could be an array of strings as the first one. It could be an array of numbers. It could be an array of booleans. Since we have only learned these three data types, that's what I'm talking about. Basically, future you will see it can be an array of anything. Okay? Any questions on this? Do you guys see what the fourth data type is? Okay, it's an array. Numbers, strings, booleans, arrays. Questions? Yes.
It's obvious, but it has to be all the same type.
I was hoping somebody will ask. Somebody always does. All right. If this was any other programming language, the answer is no. It has to be same data type. It has to be all string. But this is JavaScript. It's Wild West. You can have anything you want. Var weird array string. I can also have boolean. I can also have numbers. That's how weird JavaScript is. Please don't do this, but totally you can do this. It is confusing. I don't know why you would have different data types, but JavaScript does not complain. It is perfectly happy if you have an array of different data types. Okay. In any other programming language, this is an error. Your code will not even compile. This is an error, but JavaScript allows it. So yes, Josh.
Can you add to an array after it's already been?
Yes, we can add, and we will see in the future. Right now, we just need to understand what an array is. Yes, there are other methods you can add to an array later on. Yes. Okay. Please don't do this. I'm not sure what would be the use case. There might be some. If you come across that you need to have an array with different data types, let me know. Kind of curious. But in any other language, this is actually an error. But JavaScript allows you can have multiple different data types. Okay. Another thing about array. These things are separated by commas, right? Each one of them has a number associated with it. Okay, these are called index numbers. In array, you will hear the word index. Index basically means what is the position of the data that is inside an array. Okay, and the position starts from 0. So the first position is 0, then 1, then 2, and then so on and so forth. Remember, the index starts from in an array starts from the number 0. So if I say what is the index for Black Widow, it's actually 0. Okay, index for Iron Man is 1. Index for Captain America is 2. Index is the position. Okay, the position of data within an array. What is the position of 30? It's 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2. Okay, so if you ask your array to give me the data that is located at position 0, it's going to give you this. If you say give me the data that is located at position at index number 2, it's going to give you this. If you say give me data that is located at index number 3, it's going to give you an error because 3 doesn't exist. Okay, index number is basically a position number and it starts from 0, 0, 1, 2, and so on and so forth. Okay, how do I access this data? Let's go ahead and do a console log. Avengers, square brackets, and then index number. It's kind of a little bit similar to your, I'm going to add space so you guys can see it. Okay, what am I doing over here? So this is I'm declaring an array. This is I'm accessing my array at certain position. If I say array name, square brackets, and an index number, this is I'm asking, hey, give me what is stored at position number 0. So it's going to give me Black Widow back. Okay. Let's go ahead and run this. And inspect. Okay. If I console log Avengers at index number 1, it's going to give me Iron Man. Okay, same thing. Now go ahead and replace it with an index number 3. It's going to give you undefined. Basically, there's nothing at this index. It doesn't exist. Okay, how many indexes there are? And it goes up to 2. 1, 0, 1, and 2. Okay, so you will hear the word index, and this is how the index is. Okay. All right. One last thing is Avengers dot length. What does, now if you had to take a guess, what does this mean? Avengers, what is Avengers? It's an array, right? The array that with dot length. What is length saying? How many data or how many elements? These are called elements. Now I'm kind of proceeding into the technical terms. So we talked about index, and the data that is inside your array is called elements. So Avengers, the array name dot length tells me how many elements of that element in an array. So when I say Avengers dot length, I'm going to get 3 because I have 3 elements. Okay. If I add one more over here, it's going to give me 4. Okay, you see over here. So that's the length, and this is the index. Again, index is a position, and length is the number of elements in that array. What is the length of this array? 3. Length of this array? 3. Okay, so those are 2 main important things. All right, any questions on the array? Yes.
And also, if you console log the entire array, you'll get a lot more information in your console window. It'll show you all the index numbers. So, another helpful tool for just the entire array.
So he's saying basically if you remove this, shows you the whole array. So index number 0 is this, 1, 2, and 3, and length is 4. If you just console log just the array without any square brackets or anything. Let's see. All right, so let me go back here and show you guys. We have a total number of 14 activities and the concept that we have covered. We didn't go through each activity. Those are I have left those for you guys to try them out. There's an activity number 12 for arrays. If you want to do it right now or do it later, give this a try. You will see number 13. This is a challenge exercise. That is, once you have covered all of this and you're looking for something more challenging, look at exercise number 13. It's called bands. Okay, give it a try. It's a little bit more challenging, but it combines all the concept that you have seen over here. Okay, the best way is please go back and redo all of each one of these activity before you come on Thursday. Okay, because again, if you have any questions, ask on Slack and ask on Thursday related to an activity, but it's going to be super difficult for me to actually go over them again and again. Okay, please go back, redo these activities, and on Thursday we are kind of going to build on top of this, and we are going to do like a mini project on Thursday. Okay, that mini project will consist all of this and then some more that we'll see on Thursday. Okay, basically you'll be creating a small text game, and we'll talk about that on Thursday, but that's like a mini project, but it combines all of these concepts. So please go back and redo them, and then you will see all of these coming together on Thursday. Okay? All right, I hope everybody comes and shows up on Thursday. All right? All right, that's all. I'll see you guys on Thursday.